Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, June 10th, 2022. I am Dave Biddle. I'm very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. Missed Jonah last week. He was chilling on the beach with his family. I will actually, just a heads up, I will actually be off the next 2 weeks, heading out west with my family for a trip. So Dan Rubin will have you guys covered for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be back later this month. But Jonah, a lot to get into on today's show. I want to start with this. I started a thread on Bucknuts last night asking for questions from our subscribers. We got some good ones to get into. Buckeye 4527. I like that username, by the way. Buckeye 4527. You know, little Archie Griffin, Eddie George. Can't go wrong with that. With a little Andy Katzenmoyer mixed in, but Archie Griffin, Eddie George. All right, here we go. The crux of the show today. Should college football players have the same right as college basketball players, where college football players can test the waters, declare for the NFL draft, and then if they start getting this stuff like, oh man, like I might be a 7th round pick or undrafted, I can come back. College basketball players can do that. They can, as we all know, they can declare for the NBA draft, and then they go to the combine, and then they can come back. Should college football players have that same right, in your opinion?
I think they should. But the thing about college football, Dave, is the numbers are so tight when it comes to making sure you land the X amount of incoming high school kids to fill your rosters out. I don't know how they would do that as far as the timing of the NFL draft declaring and the second signing day, because typically what I think you have to declare a few weeks right after the bowls. And then at that point, the coaches hit the recruiting trail to try to fill those positions that they have lost to attrition. So I do think they should be able to do that because, I mean, you look at this past NFL draft, it was absolutely flooded. You had a lot of kids got pushed back in the draft late rounds, as well as not getting drafted because so many kids stayed in school for that extra year because of COVID. And then once the draft came around, a lot of kids stopped, just was not high enough. And those kids right there, I think it would give them a great opportunity to come back to college if that was on the table for them, like college basketball.
I'm pretty adamant that college football players should have that right, but you bring up an interesting point about the logistics and everything about that. It's not the same as college basketball. So I understand it's not as easy as just saying, yeah, absolutely it should happen. But I'm still on the side where I think it should happen. There has to be a way where a kid can go to the combine and then, and he, with the way the portal is, he doesn't have to come back to his own school. I just feel like when kids make a decision in late January and then maybe they've come to that realization in March, oh shit, this isn't going to happen. I think they should have the right to come back to college. It doesn't even have to be at their own school. It could be a different school.
Right. And an example of that is Jalen Marshall. Everybody on the Buckeyes board was saying, what is this kid doing? Why is he leaving for the NFL? Yeah, he had a decent season, but everyone thought that if he came back for that next year and would have been one of the focal points of the offense, he'd have really helped his draft stock. But he left early, didn't get drafted where he wanted to. NFL career didn't last as long as he wanted to. So that's the type of kid that I would look at to say, hey, maybe you should think about coming back an extra year of college, even though you had declared for the NFL.
Michigan, did they have 2 guys who left early who didn't get drafted?
They did.
Did Chris Hinton get drafted? No?
Yeah, and that was one of the kids, I think one of the running backs or something like that a couple years ago.
Yeah, Vincent Gray didn't get drafted, and
the running back skipped a bowl game because he thought that he was going to save himself for the combine and didn't end up getting drafted or something like that.
Michigan?
Michigan.
Was that Davion? I'm trying to remember who that was. Was that like Davion Smith? I can't remember. But I believe, unless Chris Hinton did get drafted, I think Vincent Gray left early and didn't get drafted. Chris Hinton, I think, didn't get drafted. Or maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but yeah, I mean, it's a cautionary tale.
You look at last year's draft. Look at Thayer Mumford.
7th round.
7th round.
Haskell Garrett.
I
know those guys were different because those guys were. I mean, I don't think could Thayer have come back? No, I think he took advantage of his COVID year because he never redshirted. Yeah. He never redshirted. Right. Haskell technically could have come back, but he was thinking, why would I come back? Coming into the year, he was projected as a 1st round pick, and then you're thinking third, fourth round, then he goes undrafted. Something must have not checked out there, man. Maybe medicals.
Well,
I'm not sure.
and
There's probably a bigger story there.
And the way NIL is shaping up, I mean, some of these guys will be making more money staying in college than they would being a fifth, sixth round pick in the NFL, fighting to make a roster spot. I mean, if you can make a $500,000 sitting in Columbus and working on your master's degree, that sounds a whole lot better than fighting just to make a 53 man roster in the NFL.
No doubt about it. All right, let's move on to this next one. This is also from Buckeye 4527, his second and final question. I like this. He wanted to know favorite college football preseason magazine, and he said his favorite is Phil Steele. That's my favorite too. I mean, I've got like a stack of them over here. Like, I've even got some that like they're so old they're like missing the cover. You know, I mean, look at this. Gonna mix in a Hunter Green one here. That has nothing to do with Phil Steele, but I wanted to throw Hunter Green in there. What? Oh, here's last year's. There's 2021. That didn't go as we wanted. All right, let's get on to it. So I think Phil Steele is the best, but okay, if you agree with that, let's go to number two. If you agree with Phil Steele's number one, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What's number two if Phil Steele's number one?
I also like Athlon. I think Athlon does a really good job with their college football information. I know they've already released their first, second, and third team all Big Ten projections and everything. And one of the big dust-up questions on Twitter was, do you think Zach Harrison will live up to the expectations and be first team all Big Ten? That's something that I tweeted out earlier this week because Athlon has Zach Harrison being a first team all defensive end. And I know they had Sawyer at second team and JT at third team. And so that was kind of a hot debate this week was, will Zach live up to the hype? I mean, the kid has been, if you look at their magazines and look back at Phil Steele, Zach Harrison has been getting hype for 3 years straight now with those type of all Big Ten type of projections. And at this point, I'm just like, prove it to me. I mean, 3 sacks a year, that's real mid. I need to see more from him before I really buy into all of the preseason hype.
I've been saying I think Zach Harrison's going to have a good senior year, his best year, but like not better than Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. I never got there. I've been saying things like, listen, let's not forget Steve Miller didn't do anything his first 3 years. Zach Harrison had a better first 3 years than Steve Miller. And then look what Steve Miller did as a senior. And I think Zach Harrison's senior year will be better than Steve Miller's senior year. And it ain't going to be better than Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau sophomore year, though, assuming all of them stay healthy. I'm just glad we have that depth. I'm glad they have all three of them. We don't need to pick between them.
Right.
Okay, we can pick between them. We can be real and say Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau are better, and we're glad we have Zach Harrison as well. All right, next thing. All right, in your neighborhood right here, 4-star defensive tackle Amari Stony Rock. Oh, excuse me, no, he's from. Excuse me. Oh, this is from. Excuse me, I'm reading my notes here. I can't read my own writing here. This is from our subscriber Stony Rock. He wants to know about 4-star defensive tackle Amari Washington from your backyard there. Chandler, Arizona. I looked it up. 27 miles away from Scottsdale, Arizona, where J-Book resides. 6'4", 295 pounds. The number 14 defensive lineman in the country, number 110 overall player in the country in the 2023 class. The great news here is JB is the dean, Bill Kurelic, has put in a crystal ball for Amari Washington to be a Buckeye. Your thoughts on if he'll be a Buckeye, and if he is, what is your evaluation of his game?
Yeah, he's one of those type of kids that will arrive on campus 300 plus already. So you already like where you're at with his size. It's just a matter of once you get him there, seeing how strong he really is already. The thing is, where he plays high school football at, they're a pretty polished high school, really well coached. They play against some of the top competition in Arizona. So he's going to come in ready to go. You see a lot of these guys that are coming from Arizona, they're coming in fundamentally developed early. As far as, where Ohio State stands, I haven't seen anything when he's going to take an official visit. I know he has one on the 24th of June to Michigan State. They're in the mix there as one of the teams that are warm on his list. But the thing is, Ohio State definitely needs to get him on campus. A lot of chatter with, the Buckeyes potentially leave, but anytime Bill throws out a crystal ball, you definitely have to feel good where Ohio State stands.
No doubt about that. All right, you got to fill me in on this, man. I've been a little bit out of the loop, but now I'm getting caught up on it. I got caught up on it last night. Tell the listeners about this Carnell Tate drama. Get into this. Get in. I want you to let everybody know about the Carnell Tate drama. What's going on with this?
So it goes back a couple of days ago. Basically, Carnell Tate tweeted out that you can go anywhere and get drafted in the first round. And then Brian Hartline came back and pretty much hit a subtweet. Everyone knows that it was going to Carnell Tate, basically saying that when you're choose the best place that's going to put the odds in your favor of potentially becoming a first round pick. Well, Zach Smith and the Menace to Sports podcast, they did a segment on that. And Zach Smith has been adamant for months now that he was not a fan of the IMG Academy. He did not like how they operate. He thought that a lot of the IMG players are overrated. They're loaded. They're on a stacked team. And the competition that they sometimes play against is grossly unmatched. And Zach has said that for months. And in his evaluation, he went on further to say that you can't even count on one hand how many IMG wide receivers have made it to the NFL. He did say he thought that Carnell Tate, was a good player, but not as good as what a lot of people were hyping him up to be. Well, lo and behold, a Twitter follower from Tennessee, 190 followers, takes a 30-second clip, tweets that, and adds Carnell Tate's mother into the mix. She blows up, goes crazy. It's just a whole fiasco. Half of Buckeye fans who can't stand Zach Smith and the Minister Sports podcast was blaming him, saying that he's going to cost Ohio State a recruit here. Brandon Enos, who's friends with Carnell Tate, came back and chimed in over top of all of that and said, how you guys going to talk about players like that if you want kids to go to your school? So it was just a giant dust up. And to me, Dave, I just look at it as a situation where, yeah, Zach is the type of person that's going to be up in your face. He's not everyone's cup of tea. But if you actually listen to what he said, it wasn't that bad to where it was just a complete gross overreaction. He's someone who has coached at a high level, coached at the IMG Academy, and he gave his evaluation.
What position did he coach?
Wide receiver coach. And the thing was, he didn't slam Carnell Tate like that. He said he's a good player, but he's not as good as everyone thinks he is. And if you look at the way IMG players pan out, a lot of them are misses. I mean, that's criticism. That's life. That's football. I just think that we're in a society right now that people are so sensitive. When he gets coached hard at the next level, that's what it's going to be. A lot of people think that it's going to come down to pretty much a bidding war. Tennessee's going to pretty much double, triple what Ohio State's willing to put out there as potential. NIL type of money. A lot of people think that hands are out, a lot of manipulation is going on, but who knows behind the scenes. But if I was to guess right now, I think he will eventually choose Tennessee. But the good news for Ohio State fans, Steve Wilfong went on the blue board, asked a question, and he said there's nothing that he sees right now to make him think that he should flip his crystal ball from Ohio State to Tennessee. And our own Bill Curley said he's sticking by his pick. So it could be a whole bunch of nothing, or it just could be a situation where a kid has already made up his mind, know he's going to take the bunny and go to Tennessee. And he's just kind of using that 30-second clip of what Zach said just to kind of say, see, I told you so, as a little, this is why I'm choosing here. And the mom, she went private on her Twitter because it was such a big dust up between Ohio State fans, basically saying like Zach Smith is not affiliated with Ohio State. He no longer coaches Ohio State. He does not have press credentials to Ohio State. He is one man who is a former coach who has a podcast and maybe, leaning towards more talking about Ohio State stuff on a day-to-day basis. But my point is, Dave, is at the end of the day, you can't let what someone says on a podcast ruin the opportunity for you to become a great football player and ruin the opportunity for you to make millions of dollars at the next level. If I'm the type of athlete that if someone says something negative about me, I'm going to use that as fuel to say, hey, I'm going to prove you wrong. But at the same time, I'm going to go to a place that is going to give me the best odds possible. And any way you look at it, Zach said, if you go to Tennessee, it's a major gamble. And he's right. You look at the Tennessee wide receiver coach, he's never coached major D1 football. He's always been an FCS coach, smaller schools. He's a first-time position coach. So you're saying, yes, I can make it to the NFL anywhere, but you are taking a major risk going to be coached by someone who has never put anyone in the first round, who has never coached at a high level in college football.
Thank you for unpacking that. You did a fantastic job of that. Thank you. I mean, that was really good. Like, the listeners might need to play that all back. All right, let's hit these. We have 3 questions from Chip Munn, our guy Chip Munn, that I want to hit. Regards, Chip. How you doing out there? So we can hit these pretty quick. All right. Who's going to be the second running back in the 2023 class for the Buckeyes, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's really hard to see, who they're going to get right now. And I know they like Justice Haynes out of Georgia. A lot of people think he's a Georgia lean. Dalen Smothers out of North Carolina is another name that a lot of people are talking about. They're looking at some lower level guys. There's a couple 3-stars that they're trying to get up to camp. So right now, I don't know who they will actually have as a second running back. I just think that that's going to be a situation that plays out. I do think if they're going to take another guy who's not as highly ranked, they have a little bit of time to see how that player performs during the actual season.
All right. I like this one too. Austin Novosad, 2023 quarterback. So the Buckeyes stacked at quarterback. They got Dylan Raiola coming in 2024. We're like, we know Ryan Day is going to want to get a 2023 quarterback. And if he doesn't, he's going to get a transfer because, he wants 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster when he can, at least 3. This year is kind of perfect, even though they don't have 4. Like, can you imagine a better situation than C.J. Stroud, Kyle McCord, and Devin Brown? I can't. All right, so Austin Novosad. So Chip wants to know, J-Book, can Ohio State flip Baylor quarterback commit Austin Novosad this weekend?
I mean, I think they have an opportunity. The fact that the kid is even showing the type of interest to where he's flirting with Ohio State. Dave, you and I know we've seen Ohio State quarterbacks commit. The last thing that the school wants is if you're a quarterback to be out there flirting with other programs. And it would take a confident quarterback that wants to come in and play behind Devin Brown and be sandwiched in between Dylan Raiola. So do they have an opportunity? Absolutely. For the simple fact that this kid is looking to, get up to Ohio State for an official visit and then see how things play out. Keep in mind, he does have a Baylor official visit on the 17th. So after that Ohio State visit, I'm sure he's going to be riding high on cloud 9. And then it's going to be up to Baylor to see if they can keep him home there. But he's a heck of a football player. I mean, you look at all of his accolades. He's an Elite 11 finalist there. He was the Texas District 5A MVP as a junior. So the kid can absolutely sling it.
All right, last one. This is one I know a lot of Buckeye fans are wondering. We're focused on the 2022 season, but looking ahead to the 2023 season. All right, after this season, this is also from Chip Munn. Can Ohio State prevent Mayan Williams and or Evan Pryor from entering the portal? Again, not before this season, but after the because obviously Travion Henderson is going to come back for another year. Can they prevent either of those guys from entering the portal?
I think it would be contingent on how many touches all 3 of those kids get this year. If they see that Ohio State has a plan that was very successful to where all of those guys had some form of success, I think it makes an easier selling point. And I say, why not? Georgia was able to do it. You look at today's game, running backs they're platooning right now because they want to touches for each other. I mean, those running backs, they're getting a lot of NIL money at Ohio State. I would say Evan Pryor is probably behind Henderson and Mayan. I mean, you look at a photo of Mayan over there at the memorial. He's sitting there at the table with the Schottensteins, and then Jackson. Yeah, and Jackson Smith and Jigba and CJ Stroud. So those guys are, yeah, or CJ Stroud, they're over there getting buttered up. So that tells you right there that he's living the luxury life in Columbus. So anytime you think about where those guys are going, unless they're going to get an opportunity that's going to wow them, on top of that, getting a significant amount of NIL that they're not receiving it in Columbus, then I do think that if they can find some success this season, all three of them, you do have a really good shot at keeping them next year.
Great stuff as always from Jonah Booker. Really appreciate it, Jay Book. Great stuff. Thank you to all of the listeners out there. We really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. I will catch you guys in about 3 weeks. Again, Dan Rubin will have you covered the next 2 weeks. Thanks again to Jay Book. Thanks to all of you for tuning into the show. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend.